Welcome to the Shuffle Curious podcast. I'm your host, Patty Lynch. Have you ever seen an amazing shuffler at a show or festival and wondered, how did they get started? How did they develop their skills? And who are they beyond the dance floor? Well, that's exactly what we're exploring in this show. We'll dive into the personal experiences of the dancers that make up our beloved community. We'll be learning more about who they are and what makes this dance so special to them. So, with that, let's jump into the show and let's get curious together. This is episode 1 of the Shuffle Curious podcast, and I'm very excited to have had my friend Ally on as my first guest. Just hearing about her journey from, starting shuffling in Maine and then moving to Colorado, having new beginnings here, and, just feeling clumsy, disconnected in her own body as she was starting, but really embracing her movement throughout the years and becoming a renowned shuffler in the shuffle scene. It was very interesting for her to describe that to me and just to kind of ride that journey with her. So she also gave a lot of really great advice for just keeping a healthy mindset throughout your shuffle journey, leaning into inspiration and kind of staying away from any comparison that you would draw to another shuffler. So I really think you guys are going to love this one. I know I did. And so without further ado, let's get to the conversation with my good friend, Ally Gonyar. All right, Ally, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm good. All is well. It's really awesome to have you here, especially for the first episode, because you were one of my first buddies in Colorado, When I moved to Boulder, you were close by, and we would sesh here and there. And fun fact, you were one of my first shuffle coaches as well. So you've always been an inspiration. So it's cool to circle back and do this with you.
Totally.
And I know you and I we both share the love for the dance, for the scene. I think that's really how we connected. So, and I just want to share a little story. I remember seeing you one of the first times we had met. It was at Shuffle Wisdom. Do you remember? It was the Shuffle Wisdom event in October of 2021. It was a Halloween event, and I saw you dancing, and I just loved your style so much that that's when I approached you. I was like, I want to do lessons with her. I want to learn what she's learned. So it's an honor to be able to interview you and get to know you a little bit more.
Aw. Yeah, that's so sweet. Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. I think we definitely share the same love and passion for shuffling, and that definitely shines through. A shuffle crackhead when you see one. And we are definitely both that. So I'm so excited and honored to be here on your first podcast.
Got it. Well, let's dig into your background a little bit.
Sure.
Can you tell the audience where you're from, how long you've been in Colorado for, how long you've been shuffling, things of that nature?
Yeah, so I started my shuffle journey when I was living in Maine. I was a lone shuffler out there, and probably was shuffling for a year and a half before I ended up moving to Colorado and connecting with the Mile High shufflers. And I've been shuffling now for about coming up on 4 years in June. So June 15th, I remember the day when I said, I want to do this. Let's go. So yeah.
Got it. So before we get to that June 15th, what did life look like before shuffling for you? What were your interests that might have led you to shuffling, or just what did you maybe feel was missing, and shuffling was kind of it for you?
Yeah, I didn't really have any creative outlets, even though I've definitely always been a creative person. Living in Maine, I feel like I was kind of an outcast or a loner, just very different from most people that live there. And that's fine, but I never really quite felt like I fit in. I was very interested in like psychology and spirituality and just like open-mindedness. And that's not what I found a lot of out there. There wasn't a big dance community at all. Or let alone an EDM community. I would have to drive like 2 hours to get to the nearest city where I could go see a show. And so most of the time that meant me driving 4.5 hours to Boston if I wanted to really go to like a bigger show. So yeah, it was pretty different. I still loved EDM music, but I was more into like bass music and dubstep and that sort of thing. So shuffling really introduced me to a whole other world of house and techno and all the other cool genres that we dance to.
Okay. So what did your origins kind of look like? How did you start shuffling? Was it an inspiration that you saw online? Was it people that you saw at like the shows that you'd go to and travel to Boston for and things like that? Like, what was that initial spark that you knew that this is something that you wanted to at least try? Like, I don't know, if at that moment you knew that you'd be doing it for 4 years, but
Yeah. So I actually had a friend at my work. Her name is Jackie. And she's still one of my biggest shuffle inspirations today. She's amazing. She started doing it. And I would say we were more like-minded than most people that we worked with, that we were around. And I saw her doing it. I just thought it was cool. And the way that she expressed it to me, was as being able to express yourself through music and through dance. And that just really appealed to me. There was something about that stood out and made me think about it and curious about it. Yeah.
Okay. So it was this one individual. Do I know her? Have I ever met her?
I don't know. She came to the studio one time.
Okay.
So I'm not sure if you were there, but she's more low key in the shuffle community. But she's amazing. She's phenomenal. Yeah, I feel like you can't miss her when she's dancing. She's very powerful and so controlled, very meticulous with the details of her movement. So yeah, definitely has a very unique style and expression.
I can see why you probably gravitated towards her dance or her style, because everything you just said there seems to be a little bit of, how you decide to move. I feel like you're very controlled and kind of meticulous. And I think Brent said it the best. Our buddy Brent. You're always in like learning mode. It looks like when you're dancing, it looks like you're always working on something. It's never it's never like a pattern, or at least like what we can see. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's funny. I remember him saying that and being like, "Oh yeah, I'll watch you dance," and be like, "Oh, that was sick. Will I see her do that in a week? Probably not." I was like, "Yeah, that feels pretty accurate." That's something I work on, is like having more kind of controlled combos and different set things. But honestly, I just love to experiment and create. I'm always creating a different pattern or something, and that is just the way that my mind works. It's always exploring something new, and I just want to like learn and grow into something new. It's always like on to the next, which sometimes is great. Sometimes I would like to retain more. So
yeah. I mean, that's why we have videos and stuff. We're always like looking back at our old videos, like, oh, I remember when I used to hit that, or I remember when, I hit that combo or this kind of movement, or I looked that way.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think now as I get more present and intentional with my style, it's easier for me to kind of keep more of those cool combos and different concepts kind of in my back pocket and pull them out and play with them more. But for a while, it was just like, I just want to flow and I just want to be with whatever comes out of me. But there's something to both. for sure.
Yeah. And, I think when all of us were learning initially, it was like we all wanted to get to that point where we were just flowing, where it wasn't thinking about now I'm going to hit, like for me, it was mostly shapes. So it was like, now I'm going to hit the Polly Pocket and then I'm going to go into Charleston. Like the moment that it was seamless for me and I was just doing it, that's when I started to have a lot of fun. So just going back to when you started, like, what did those first couple months look like for you? Like, what was the learning process? Was it messy? Was it, structured? Like, how did you go about, getting to where you are, or at least getting to that point where you were just flowing?
Yeah, it was definitely messy. I feel like when I first started shuffling, I was very disconnected from my body, like very dissociated and very clumsy. Like my movement did not look smooth. It was very sloppy. It was very like not full body unity. It was very like disjointed and kind of just like clumsy looking. So I would say for the first, probably at least 6 months, I looked pretty clumsy, which is okay because we all start somewhere. And I think shuffling was a beautiful journey of coming back into my body. And through that, also like being able to know myself better and learn things about myself as I explored my own flow. So yeah, it took a long time, but it was just genuinely something that brought me joy and it gave me a sense of purpose when, I didn't have a lot out in Maine, and that was just something that felt really good. And I could connect with a community that could see me, in a way that not a lot of people could.
Mm-hmm. No, that's awesome. And it is cool how the shuffle community does show up on Instagram and, even like YouTube back in the day and things like that. And you can really connect with people even when you're more or less isolated from where it happens, big cities and shows and things like that. So I know that was a good outlet for me as well when I started. Was when you were starting, during those first 6 months, was there any inclination to quit, after doing it? Were there any frustrations that were involved that, kind of made you want to throw in the towel?
I mean, I think there was comparison and there's always a lot of that. But at the time, I think it was more motivating than anything to know what I could look like and the level that I could get to. So I think I just found such joy in shuffling, and I was coming out of a rather like dark period of my life. So I really held on to that joy, and I think I danced every single day just about for the first 9 months that I was shuffling. So I was really relentless with it. I would practice for an hour to 3 hours a day, sometimes more, when I have time off. And it was just a lot of YouTube videos and trying to learn shapes at first, not really knowing what else was out there. But yeah, so my OG inspirations was EXO, Ally, she's amazing, and probably like Sterling. Who else? Yeah, that's all that I know right now, but a lot of shapes. And that's, it's not really, doesn't work too well for me.
I think that's kind of like where we all start with, or like the most of us, I think, because it's, I feel like Instagram is kind of trending that way, with a lot of like the shape movements that are coming out, and there's an allure to it. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, it's crazy footwork. And you were a soccer player, growing up and things like that. So I'm sure that was like, oh, I could do that, or I could work on that and get proficient at it, Yeah.
It's actually funny you say that because when I first started kind of just experimenting with my own flow and not really knowing what Melbourne was, but just kind of straying from shapes, I would incorporate a lot of my soccer moves into into my flow and use like kicks into spins and all sorts of different things. And I think that's really one of the things that started to develop and curate my uniqueness. And people started being like, oh my God, I love your spins and all this, you have crazy spins. And that kind of came from my soccer background.
Yeah, that was probably one of the best forms of advice that you gave me when we were doing our lessons. It was just think of something that you're already interested in or that you've done for many, many years, whether that be a sport or, sport is probably the most applicable to everyone. But for me, it was like wrestling. Like, how could I incorporate wrestling? And that's like level changes and things that I wouldn't think that would go into shuffling, like dropping down onto a knee, almost like you're taking like a shot or something like that.
Super cool.
And it's like, because I think when you're learning shuffling, right, like you're kind of putting things into a box. Like,
absolutely,
this move goes with this one, and like you don't really. You kind of give yourself barriers and it's hard to branch out of that. But once you realize that there's like no rules and you can just apply things that you've already become proficient with to shuffling, then your ability to pull out whatever or move differently, it just, there's more breadth to your dancing is kind of what I'm trying to say. So that piece of advice was really good for me, and you've expressed that to a lot of other people as well.
Definitely. Yeah, you have to learn the rules in order to then break them, for sure. You don't ever want to get too confined into that one box of how you think that things need to go. It's just can confine you to too much structure, and there's always a balance between structure and flow. And I think that's one of the reasons you were attracted to me as a shuffler, because I'm very on the flow oriented side, and I see the way that you lab and sesh, and you're more of you have that structured, regimented kind of mindset to your shuffling, I feel like.
Yeah, trying to get out of that, for sure.
And I'm trying to do what you do. So, there's beauty in that as well.
We're helping each other out all the time. Got it. Okay, so once you hit that 6 months or so, and you were able to just start flowing, start going to shows, doing your own thing. What kind of came next? What doors did that open for you? What kind of challenges came with that? Is there anything that it was like, wow, okay, this is going to be like a lifestyle for me, that sort of thing?
Yeah. I mean, I think my first big festival as a shuffler was EDC Orlando. And the energy there really inspired me because I had never been around so many insanely talented individuals. And just being around that energy, you absorb it, and I think we absorb so much from watching each other dance and vibing with each other. So that was really big for me. And that was the first time I ever really liked like techno or trance music. And so that definitely opened a doorway for me as a dancer. And then I think also just moving to Colorado and really being connected with more individuals who dance. Like my growth was exponential from that point on. It's a lot easier to learn and to pick things up when you're around other people who can give you little tips and advice and pointers, and I'd been doing it on my own for so long that I just didn't really have a lot of that knowledge, the technical side of things. So that was really helpful. And then as a third and final thing, I think battling is something that's relatively new to me, but that definitely gave me a whole new perspective on shuffling and how to really bring your full self and your presence into your shuffling, because it's very easy to get lost in that flow state, and that's beautiful. But battling really requires you to show up and be present and very intentional with your music your musicality and your movement. And after doing the FDS battle in LA, I was just like, oh my gosh, it opened up so much for me. Like, it was just a game changer.
That's awesome. And we can probably unpack all of those, like, because I know like my first festival was pretty big. Just having the exposure, to individuals who you've never seen on Instagram, like they're in the flesh, like you can speak to them, you can get their input, feedback, and things like that. So I'd like to just go back to EDC Orlando. So you were exposed to different musical genres that you hadn't, been particularly maybe not keen on, beforehand. Maybe you knew about them, but it was a different way to, express yourself to those, types of music and whatnot. And then you got exposure to different shufflers. Was there anyone there? Was there a set there that you really vibed with? So either like an artist or like a friend, a new friend that you made.
Yeah, for sure. There's so many people. There's one person in particular that stands out to me, and it's funny. I was actually just messaging him on Instagram the other day and told him this exact thing of just how much seeing him dance impacted me in such a profound way. His name on Instagram is John Nee. I don't know his last name, but his name is John. And I remember seeing him at Dead Mouse's set, and that was kind of a different genre for me too, right? More like on the trancey, like progressive side of things. And his Running Man was just so beautiful and powerful, but sleek at the same time. And the way that his whole body moved in unison as he did his Running Man, I was just mind blown. I had never seen anyone so smooth. And it was very Melbourne, style of shuffling. And I went up to him and I was like, oh my God, how do you do that? And he gave me a little tip on, just that full body integration and bringing your shuffling up from your legs into your hip, into your torso, into your shoulders. And I'll never forget that.
That's awesome. What was that your first exposure to like a Melbourne style? I guess in the flesh, like maybe you'd seen it on Instagram and stuff like that. But I know it hits different when you see it for yourself. Yeah,
for sure. I mean, I think a lot of the shufflers at EDC Orlando were predominantly shapes. And so, that was the first time I remember that it really ever had that kind of like impact on me where I was like, whoa, like, what is this? There's something to this.
Yeah. There's something different out there that I haven't, been exposed to.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. Very cool. So that was Dead Mouse. Do you think that was your favorite set of the festival?
It's hard to say. I saw so many people, and half the people I'm just wandering and, stumbling upon new music and stuff. The whole experience was really great, but that was definitely in the top. Yeah. Got it.
Do you think level ups were had during that festival?
Oh my God, so many level ups. I mean, it's crazy what can happen when you shuffle for 3 days straight, like just nonstop. And I think even like the shuffle challenge that we just ran, when you are like consistently every day shuffling, there's just that creativity and momentum just really builds on itself and does something different.
Yeah, for sure. And for the audience that doesn't know, me and Ally, we did a shuffle challenge with the I guess sponsored by the Mile High Shufflers. And every single day we had a certain movement or a concept that you had to perform. And we had like group chats and stuff, and it was a lot of fun. It was a good time, and it made I love them because it makes everyone kind of accountable to each other, and it's kind of a grind. You're doing it every day, whether you want to or not. And some days you're inspired, some days you're not. So this was something that Ally actually put on last year, and it was just kind of her own little thing, and I was a part of it, and I saw the beauty in it. Just being with other people who have committed to, dancing every single day, and I wanted to join up and do something with her in the same regard, and so we asked the Mile High Shufflers if they could just kind of like sponsor it on their page, and we would create the curriculum, and we did it, and it was pretty successful. What do you think?
Yeah, it was really awesome. I think so many people found a lot of value in it, which is really just the intention, is to give back to, the shufflers that come after us, because I know that I had so many people that gave me snippets of advice and that ran challenges. And I think that we should really try to continue that. That's one of the beautiful things about our culture, is just that we want to keep fostering more and more. And we love to see anyone dancing and just help them be able to express themselves in the way that they want to express themselves, and being able to give back to the community in that way is definitely so fulfilling, and I'm really happy with how it turned out.
Yeah, that was very rewarding. Give me a high five, actually. Yeah, and definitely more to follow. We've got ideas,
Yeah.
We've got. I think we're community oriented and things like that. So we'll either repeat that, or we'll do something else, or whatever else. But speaking of that, we're both a part of the Mile High Shufflers. This is kind of our gang. Do you kind of want to talk a little bit about your experience rolling up to Colorado, not knowing a lot of people, snapping in with that collective crew, whatever we want to call it? It's kind of ambiguous.
Yeah. I remember finding the Mile High Shufflers on Instagram before I moved and being like, oh, cool. Like, I figured there was going to be some shuffling, but it was awesome that there was this little pre-established group. And I don't know how this happened, but I ended up reaching out or talking to Caleb, who was big in the Mile High at the time. And I just remember him being like, oh my God, yeah, I'm so excited you're coming. Like, I'll tell everyone, and like, everyone's going to be so stoked to meet you. And just ultimately feeling so welcomed into the group. Shout out to Caleb. He's my big, is what we're calling them now. So he was the person that inducted me. And so we're kind of doing it like a little sorority fraternity style. I don't know if you have a person that you would consider your big.
I'm trying to think. I'm going to think.
Yeah, it was funny because then a couple weeks later, we realized that Marina is my grand big because she inducted Caleb. So I'm like, oh, nice. Now I have a little lineage. Like it was fun. But yeah, it was just, I remember going and being so nervous. I was like, just shaking in my boots. And I was with my friend Erica, who had helped me move. And she was like, dude, just go. Like, go say hi, go dance. It was at a little meetup.
Okay.
It was when we were doing a lot of just mini little Sunday Cheeseman sessions. And I went up and everybody was so nice and welcoming. And I think the beautiful thing about Mile High Shufflers is that it's always there. Like, the community holds it down, and you can be a part of it if you want. Like, there's not really that exclusivity of like, oh, you have to be a certain style or a certain experience level. Like, you're just welcomed with open arms. And when people can see that you love shuffling, like, they're gonna want you to be a part of this and just welcome you in and foster your growth as a dancer. And yeah, I feel like that's really what happened with me. And I feel like we've come so far as a collective in the, what is it? Almost 3 years, coming up on 3 years that I have been out here, to just see us all grow, not only as dancers, but just as human beings. that all really share a similar mindset on life and just want to be the best people that they can be has been so awesome. And I'm really glad that shuffling has led me to you and, you know, some of my best friends and just amazing human beings. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think that's about? I mean, because I don't think it happens everywhere. You know what I mean? Like, do you think it's just the music scene in Denver brings the right people, brings the right vibes, where it just has this inclusive nature to it, and there's no strings attached. You know, you can kind of participate however you'd like, and there's really no judgment on, you know, how you ought to be dancing, what music you should be listening to, like what shows you need to go to, like things like that. It's really choose your own adventure, and all of us are just kind of, you know, here enjoying it with each other.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of that has to do with the founding principles and the people that came together and initially said, like, let's dance together. So Dee Dee and Emily and Jorge, and I'm not sure if all of the people that were right there in the beginning, but I know those were a few. And I think they had maybe seen other scenes and had other experiences with shuffling that maybe weren't so welcoming, and really just made it a point for that to be a value that they carry. And that has been something that this community has carried so strongly throughout since the beginning, I think, because of their leading examples. And yeah, just great leadership. And that fosters and inspires and shows the way for how all of us want to be, you know? Yeah.
Got it. Yeah. Well, it's super cool that the Mile High Shufflers have gotten to where they have, you know, instead of, you know, just Sunday sessions. It's now, okay, we're hosting battles, we're hosting huge meetups, we're doing these larger events and things like that, and we're connecting with our local community, our local just Denver community, but also on a national level, you know, sending invites for people to come to, like the kill off, the MHS kill off that happened back in October and things like that. So it's cool to see how far it's come. You know, I'm late to the party, but I felt like I got here at a cool time. But it's also neat just to see the progression, and I don't think it's going to slow down anytime soon. I think a lot of people are interested in holding more events, doing bigger events, that whether that be even traveling to like ShuffleCon or going to another festival, and, you know, everyone just hitting the road all together, or doing something here. I think that the fabric here will just get stronger, and that typically enables for us to do bigger stuff, you know?
Yeah.
So it's exciting to see what's going to happen. But with our battle culture that I think we're starting to look further into, because I think that's kind of just new to shuffling, unless, you know, someone wants to correct me there. I think we're still at our infancy with shuffling being a dance that you can battle to. You've had quite some experience with battling with the FTS tournament, and then also with the kill off. So do you want to talk a little bit about your experience? I guess first with FTS, because that was your first legit tournament, right? And then maybe chiming in about the MHS kill off.
Yeah, definitely. I kind of threw my hat in the FDS competition, you know, thinking it was a long shot, and maybe not having so much confidence in myself as a dancer, even though there's been plenty of things that have like proven to me like, okay, I've gotten pretty good at this. But when I made it into the competition, I was quite surprised. And I think I put a lot of pressure on myself, which really made me practice and put in a lot of intentional work. but at the end of the day, it was also kind of exhausting and very stressful. But the whole time, it was really bringing up like, okay, how can I show up in this and be confident? Because half the battle is that showmanship and that trust and confidence in yourself. And that was really big for me. It really made me face like that gap between how I wanted to show up and how I felt like I was able to show up. And I think the FDS competition, I battled Dapper Danny, right? And he's just on another level of showmanship. And I lost to him. It was such a fun battle. But what I really took from that was, okay, like, what did he have that I didn't have in that? And it was that showmanship aspect and just that personality. Like, people really just want to see you having fun and being you. Like, that was my biggest takeaway from the experience, was just, how can I bring more of myself to this and just have fun and be free and flow with it, while also like being very intentional and present and, being with the person that I'm dancing with, looking them in the eye and playing with them. And that was something great about the MHS kill-off. For the top 16 round, I was battling Andy, and it was funny. I was talking to him right before it got announced, and then I look over and I was like, oh, hey, we're battling. He was like, no way. But yeah, he was such a great battle competitor as well, because he was just like, hey, let's play, let's have fun. And I definitely really took that to heart and just kind of showed up and was much more lighthearted about it this time. And I think that really showed in my dancing. And yeah, I just had so much fun with it.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the name of the game. It's just not being calculated about it. It's like listening to the music, making sure your body's moving in accordance with it, and just expressing yourself exactly how you want to. And I think you did a great job with that, but also your competitors did a really good job at that as well. Like Andy kills it with that stuff. He's
so good.
Yeah, his expression is just on another level as well. So congrats on getting in top 16 for both of those. Like there's a lot of people who qualified, or who entered each of those tournaments, but not a lot qualified.
Yeah. FDS, I made it to the top 32, and then the kill-off was the top 16, but both such fun, valuable learning experiences. And again, with just the creative energy and inspiration that are had at those events, I feel like the energy just gets so like high and everybody's so invested, and it's really great. I feel like the more that you can just lab, like almost like you were labbing at home, just by yourself, just being your absolute like most free, the more that you can bring that into your battling, the better it's gonna be. And that's hard when you feel like, oh my God, there's all these people looking at me and there's so much pressure. But really, there's no pressure. It's only the pressure that we're putting on ourselves to be perfect or live up to, some expectation of what we want to look like. But when we can allow ourselves to just drop that and go into it, no expectations, and just trying to have fun, like that's when it shows. And I think that's when we shine and do our best.
Yeah. And that's really good advice for, all the battlers out there who want to do better. I think the more pressure you put on yourself, maybe leading up to it with your preparation and things like that, that's probably a good thing. But walking into that square where you're about to do the thing, like, just give yourself some grace that you've prepared enough and lab, like listen to the music and lab.
Just have fun. Yeah. Do your thing. Put your sauce on it. That's all you got to do.
What does your battle career look like moving forward? Are you going to kind of pace yourself Or do you want to eat up every opportunity that comes your way? How are you kind of thinking about? Because I know you're into it. Like you enjoy it. You like that atmosphere. I can see it.
Yeah. I guess we'll see. Like I said, I don't want to put so much pressure on myself about battling. But I think if there is an opportunity where it's like right place, right time, I'm definitely down because I love just engaging with the community, and I think they're great opportunities to progress and better yourself and learn new things. So I guess it's a little up in the air right now at this moment. I don't super have any plans to battle, but also there's not a whole lot of battles on the radar right now. There's the FTS, which I'm thinking about, but we'll see. No promises. Yeah.
That's the ShuffleCon that's coming up, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And I think that's why it's still, that's why I said in the beginning, it's kind of new, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not some people are hosting them here and there. But I think it would be cool to just get more opportunities out there, because from everything, from all the tournaments that have been announced and things like that, I feel like they get filled up. You know what I mean? A lot of people show up to these things. So there's obviously a demand.
Yeah.
So if they're getting filled up every time, that means probably people would want a higher frequency from just the community at large. Just hosting these things and having it be almost a consistent thing.
For sure. Yeah. I think shuffle battling has been a thing since the very beginning, since the OG Melbourne shufflers and OG ravers. However, I do think in the past year, maybe two, that it's become a lot more popularized and mainstream, and we are having a lot more really well publicized big events, which is really great because this is our dance style progressing into something that can be put into the spotlight, can be put into the mainstream, all other kinds of popular dance forms, whether it just be like breaking or hip hop, whacking, they all have tournaments. And the fact that shuffling is really picking that up now, I think will definitely put shuffling more in the limelight and on the radar as a legitimate, skillful art form.
Yeah, for sure. It'll be cool to see, how it progresses, what the evolution looks like. So yeah, I guess we'll have to stay tuned, Yeah. I know in our local community, we'll be doing what we need to have those opportunities present. But I think when we see what other people are doing and people see what we're doing, they kind of grow off of each other. We collaborate in many different ways. So yeah, who knows what comes next? It's exciting. It's very exciting.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So those are a couple things that have been a part of your shuffle journey. Is there anything else that would resonate with the audience? Just an anecdote or a story that you have that meant a lot to you as you were going through your shuffle journey, whether that be at the beginning, towards more recently.
Yeah, good question.
If nothing comes to mind, that's okay.
I don't have anything off the top of my head.
Any breakthroughs or anything like that? Because I know for myself, like there's been like months at a time where I'm just like not inspired. And maybe I go to a show or I go to a meetup, or it just hits me out of nowhere and I get inspiration. Is there anything that's happened like that?
Yeah, I think just like reclaiming dance for myself, I can definitely get really caught up in, oh my God, like I want to be at this level, or, I want to win battles and blah, 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 and putting a lot of pressure on myself to look and perform a certain way and be perceived a certain way. And as soon as I start doing that is when I start feeling more stuck and stagnant, and just really start to get more frustrated in my labs, and just the flow isn't there. So that's always a check for me to be like, like, why am I doing this? And to check myself and my intention, and come back to the fact that for me, this is a way to express myself, and however that is received, that's received. Like when I first started shuffling, I gave no fucks. Sorry, I don't know if I can swear on here.
Oh, you totally can.
Okay.
This podcast is rated R.
But yeah, I just did not care. Like half the videos I posted when I was starting out were not good. You
were probably like, this is fire though. Like at the moment.
I was like, oh yeah. But that's because it didn't matter what it looked like. It mattered how it felt, and I felt so free and expressive in my movement. And, even if the technicality of the shuffling wasn't that good, I think that still shined through in those videos, and people would still, comment and be supportive because they could see me coming through in the movement. And it's a way to see each other. And I think a lot of people that gravitate towards shuffling have maybe felt a little bit different, or felt not seen in their waking life, and maybe were like me and felt a little off and an outsider. And yeah, now we can put ourselves out there and be received by people and be seen, and that's something that we were kind of missing, and it just feels great. Yeah.
That definitely hits home,
Yeah.
Just self-expression. I think it impacts you in a way that you wouldn't have been able to describe before. Whether it's through dance, whether it's through, another art form or things like that. I don't know. You probably have a little bit more confidence in yourself, that you can move your body the way that you want to, that you can express however, whatever you're feeling, however the music's making you feel. And it's well received by other people because it's beautiful, like the way that you're moving is beautiful. And, that there's a spectrum to that, maybe it might not be everyone's thing, but they can respect that the work that you put in, to be able to move your body exactly how you feel is commensurate with how you're feeling, So that's super cool. But I want to just go back to something you said though. It was like almost, it became heavy when you were doing it for another reason, but other than yourself.
Right.
Do you feel like you get caught up in that from time to time, or have gotten caught up with that during your journey? And, were there any ways to kind of like snap out of it and bring it back to, okay, I'm doing it for me versus anything else?
Yeah. I mean, there was something one of my friends said to me a long time back before I really got into the shuffle community. Kind of struck me, and may or may not be true, but they said everyone in the shuffle community wants to be someone. And that felt true for me, at least, because, coming from an area where I was not really seen or valued for who I was, well, now here's this community that I feel as though I can gain recognition and validation from, and be seen in a way that I'm being expressive of myself. So I think that it's possible to get caught up in the, social media aspect and the comparison aspect of, this person's getting this many likes, or that person seems like they have so many friends and whatever, and just wanting to feel that connection and like you're valued. And at the end of the day, like the shuffle community is a beautiful, welcoming place. And it's really just, our own insecurities, I think, that come out in those ways. So it's definitely been a learning curve for me. As someone who, really gravitated towards shuffling and didn't have community to want to be recognized in that. And then just realizing, it's also okay if I'm not recognized. Like shuffling is fun. It's a hobby. It's something I love. But like at the end of the day, it's not my end all be all. I think I just really identified with shuffling so heavily that I put a lot of my self-worth into how I was being received. And yeah, at the end of the day, I think it's just about coming back to myself. And like I said, like the intention of why I started to dance was just because I wanted to express myself. I just wanted to move and it felt good to do so. I had no expectation of anything regarding shuffling. I did not think that I was going to be a part of an international team of shufflers or a community of, beautiful dancers or participating in battles or, being filmed by like cool videographers. Like none of that ever even slightly occurred to me. Or just like, meeting all of these people, connecting to a national network of amazing, creative people like that. That meant nothing to me at the time.
It was almost like the icing on the cake. Like you didn't realize how many doors would have opened, for you to explore if you didn't dabble into this dance. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I cannot even imagine where I would be without it. And I think for me, just like the connections have been the most beautiful part because I've been doing what I love. I've met so many other people that just carry that same energy of wanting to progress and be creative and be free. Like there's so much freedom and openness within the community.
Yeah, it's really a blessing, to be honest. But when you think about it, it's I think that a lot of us just stumbled into this, and it's a very nice surprise to see what we were able to what we were able to uncover from it. And I think a lot of people are maybe at the verge of like taking this seriously or wanting to engage more with the shuffle community. And I would just kind of encourage them to do so and just see how far they get, start reaching out and start doing your own meetups and, start going to shows and shuffling and being the one person who's shuffling, but you might just inspire someone by just expressing yourself and just doing your thing, So no, it's very cool to hear, that you had those things, that heaviness of, okay, I need to get validation from this source or whatever else, but coming back to a place of, I don't need any of that. Like I'm doing it for myself. But I can still participate in the community in the same way. I don't need to be seeking external validation at every turn of the corner. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like ultimately I hit a point, and I think it was with the FTS battles, where I was like, who am I trying to impress? Like, I like me, like, why don't I just try to, keep impressing myself? And why am I giving over the power to other people to say if I'm good or not? You know what I mean? Like, let me just take that power back and just own that for myself. And it was a big moment of just like coming back. And honestly, it happens, it happens here and there. And I don't think it's uncommon. I think it's something that a lot of shufflers have expressed. And, you get a certain reputation and then you feel like you have to uphold that standard or, yeah, just keep putting out content that people are going to like. And it's so common. And I think it's something that's not necessarily talked about enough, because whenever someone does share and open up about it, there's 50, 100 comments of people also being like, oh my gosh, same, like this resonates with me. I feel you. Like, it can get hard sometimes, and it's the pressure that we put on ourselves to perform and to impress people. It's a lot. And I think partly due to just social media and how it is, and how people can really put out one thing, but you don't know what their true experience is in that moment. So that's why I always just try to kind of be vulnerable with that kind of stuff. And, you know, even some of the best dancers struggle with that.
Yeah, for sure. And, you know, you just coming on here and saying just that is very vulnerable. And I think it kind of gives people permission to like not take themselves so seriously, or not, or better yet, just not put that pressure on themselves to either perform or to feel like they need to be in the limelight in some kind of meaningful way.
Yeah. And, you know, I see a lot of like new shufflers do that as well, where they don't get it right away. And because they're not perfect or they're not looking like they want to look, they just give up. And before, you know, putting in, you know, maybe it's the next day that they sesh and they have a breakthrough and something starts to click and flow, but they give up before that because of their own pressure and expectation that they're putting on themselves of, oh, I'm not good at this or whatever. And it's just a bummer. It's a bummer to see people drop out of shuffling because of whatever, you know, pressure that they're putting on themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think social media can be a double-edged sword. It can either, you know, rob you of joy via comparison, or it can inspire you. You know what I mean? So I'd rather lean into the inspiration than the comparison. So just use it as a tool versus, you know, something that would perhaps make you stop shuffling. Like, I can't even, it's hard for me to even say that.
Yeah.
Probably for you too. But awesome. We can move on to like kind of where you're at today. Like, what are you excited about right now? What are you excited about in the future? What are you kind of looking at? That could be shows, that could be projects that you have going on. It could be totally unrelated to shuffling as well.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think I'm super excited just about the Mile High community in general, and all the projects that we're working on. I know you know some of the behind the scenes stuff, and hopefully setting up some really great events and just taking part and doing what I can for the community. But also with the UFO Shufflers, Us for Others. We have some exciting stuff coming up for sure. Some festivals and stuff that we're probably going to squad up for. And that's just like, they're such a great company and really trying to help get us some exposure as dancers and honor our creativity and our expression, and have been loving being a part of them as well.
So just for the audience and my understanding, UFO is a music label, correct? Right.
So the UFO Shufflers is a team of shufflers that is partnered with the international record label company UFO. So we'll dance to their tracks and do like little music videos and stuff for the artists under the label, and have little projects for them. And then likewise, they'll kind of promote for us. And it's just a really great supportive relationship that we have with the network, the record label company.
That's awesome. Yeah. I know Gribbs is a part of that, right?
Yeah.
Colin. And and then Michael as well. What's his Instagram handle? I know him by Michael because I met him at the Kill Off. Mizu. Yeah. No, it's cool. It's cool seeing you guys getting down and like traveling for that. It seems to be one of those doors that opened for you that you just weren't aware of. And sure. It seems like you've had a lot of fun with it. So yeah, hopefully it continues to be a fruitful endeavor for you. And keep us posted with all that stuff.
Yeah, for sure. And honestly, I'm just loving just dancing, and I feel like I've really reconnected with that spark again. And there's just something different that's been coming through in my movement, in my lab sessions that is like new to me. I'm like, whoa. I'm like, I got, when you like impress yourself and you're like, whoa, I just did that. Okay, that was cool.
For you, is it usually like in the mirror when you do it, or is it like looking back at the video that you just, your phone was just laying around taking a video and you were like, oh, what?
Honestly, it's like the feeling. And then usually that feeling will translate to if I'm looking in a mirror or if I'm recording myself and I watch it back, I'm like, okay, that was dope. I hit that. And it's just like just something that comes out of me that is true to me, and that I was just kind of letting myself be in that moment and like so synced up with the music that you hit a beat that you didn't even know was coming, and that's always fun. It's always a good feeling because it's like, how did my body know that there's going to be a triple beat right there that I go da da da, or whatever it is. So I love surprising myself, and then I've been seeing a little bit more of the like consistency coming through, and that kind of unique tailored style. So it's been cool to just watch myself evolve and learn from people. Definitely my partner now has been pretty influential in cultivating my style. He's also one of the very kind of structured, analytical, break it down every single second kind of people. And that's definitely different than how I operate. So having his input and his experience has been helpful as well.
How is it dating a shuffler?
Oh man, it's the best. You always dream of it, but you like highly doubt that it'll ever happen. So the fact that it happened is pretty great. And not just that, he's just a phenomenal human being. So it's just an icing on the cake, really. Yeah.
Yeah. No, he is A++ human being.
Material.
Yeah. He's awesome.
Shout out 1001 Cranky Monkeys.
And that's Jesse, right?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Well, I think we're going to move on to the last segment of the show. I don't know if you prepared for these questions, but this is the world famous Final Five. So I'm going to ask you 5 questions, and these are questions that I'm going to ask every podcast guest that I have here. So starting with the first one, what is your favorite music genre?
Oh, techno.
Techno for sure.
Techno all the way. Techno has just been that love affair that's been like very slow but steady, but just grows so deep over time. Just keeps getting deeper.
Got it. There's no ends to your love for techno at the moment.
No.
Got it. I'm on a similar vein. Okay, next. What is your favorite place to dance?
Ooh, good question. I feel like it's got to be Cheeseman. That place is just special, and I think it holds such a dear place in the heart of our community and has fostered so much connection and camaraderie and friendship and good vibes. I remember the first shuffle meetup, like big shuffle meetup we threw that I went to. I literally felt like I was on something afterwards. I was just so like wide-eyed and like hyper and just yip, 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 like chatting people's ears off. And that energy, like I felt it from the next couple of days. I was so inspired. So shout out to Cheeseman for always holding it down for the Denver, Colorado scene.
And for those who don't know, this is Cheeseman Pavilion. It's in Cheeseman Park, and it's somewhat near downtown in Denver. But yeah, this is like, I call it the Mecca of shuffling.
Yeah, true.
Because it has a really nice aesthetic, and a lot of people come here. I know, like the first thing that I did, because I was like you, I looked up Mile High Shufflers before I arrived in Colorado, and I saw the Cheeseman Pavilion. I was like, that looks amazing. So the first line of order getting here, I went over there and I danced on the pavilion. I didn't know anyone here, and so I think it has a lot of sentiment to a lot of us. So yeah,
for sure.
That's awesome. Okay, next question. Your favorite, this can be any of these, but your favorite set, show, or festival that you attended.
Okay. Wow, this is a vast question. Deer in headlights. Let's think.
We can circle back to it if you'd like.
Okay.
Circle
back.
Your favorite book?
My favorite book, also a vast question. I have to say there's probably been a couple books that I don't know if they're my favorite, but they've been highly influential to me. Just where I was at the time that I read them. One of them is called Letting Go, a really great book. I think it's by Stephen not Hawking, but something like that. Mm-hmm. Stephen something.
What's like a small abstract of it, like 2 sentences?
Yeah, it basically just brings you through like the different vibrations of emotion and how within every kind of higher vibration, all of the other vibrations are also encompassed, and just kind of shows you how to like move through your emotions and release and move into higher states of being, I guess.
Okay, so like a self-actualization type of guidebook.
It's all I really read because I need it.
Got it. Okay, back to your favorite set, show, or festival. Do you have it? You can give like top 5. You want to do top 5?
I have to think. Yeah. Emily Lenz in Amsterdam was definitely like off the radar. That was amazing experience. Geez, my first time warp, that was really crazy. Loved that. There were some great DJs. Nina Kravis, I think, just like really blew my mind. Basically techno.
Enough said. Got it. Well, the last question that I have for you. So if you could put any message on the main stage production, think Tomorrowland or EDC Las Vegas, on the main stage, and you were able to put any kind of message, rolling through for thousands, tens of thousands of people to see, what would that message be?
I guess it would just be to live in the moment and appreciate this moment that you're in, because you're never going to get it back, and to love yourself and to love your neighbor and look out for each other and take care of each other.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. They would have to really read that. But
It's a paragraph.
yeah, maybe it's just like embodied in a visual or something like that. Well, thank you for answering those questions. I'm excited to see how other people answer those. So, but okay, so we're gonna wrap up here. Is there anything else you'd like to share with the listeners that maybe we didn't touch on throughout the interview?
Yeah, I would say just like as a final note, I would encourage everyone to just be loving and supportive of each other, because at the end of the day, no matter why someone shuffles, they're expressing themselves, no matter if they're making a choreo, no matter if they're just, going raw and freestyling. It doesn't really matter. And to just support each other, because that is what we want the community to be built off of, is just love and respect, and to kind of carry those, EDM rave vibes throughout our dance, because that's our origin. And yeah.
You heard it here. Be nice. Be nice to people.
Just be nice.
Be nice
it's
to
not
people.
that hard.
And be nice to yourself,
Just
too.
leave people alone.
If people want to connect with you after hearing from you and getting some exposure to who you are, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram. My handle is _sun_rose_ and rose with a 0 as the O.
Got it. And we'll link some stuff in the show notes just so it's a little bit easier.
Sure.
But Ally, it was an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you so much. And we should do this more often.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
Thank you for tuning in to the Shuffle Curious podcast. If you've enjoyed the show, please leave a rating and a review wherever you listen to podcasts. And don't forget to tell a friend either. I'm excited for you to join us in our next episode. And in the meantime, remember to keep dancing and stay curious.